ships that had less than 10 triremes, the city states that sent less than 10, I'm not even going to mention them. The so the city of Calchas had 20 triremes, Siacon had 15, Corinth had 40, which was the second largest contingent, I might add. Megara sent 20, Epidaurus sent 10, and then Sparta had 16, and Aegina had 30. Now, between these ships, right, just the ones I mentioned, we are talking about a grand total of 40% of the Greek allied fleet between 7 polys. However, the Athenians alone, by Herodotus' number, 180 vessels. That is almost 50% of the entire Greek fleet is just crewed by the Athenians. So it is pretty important that these guys stay with the fleet. Otherwise, if they're gone, then the rest of the Greeks have absolutely no hope of victory. And then, even then, a reckless Xerxes would have won regardless of the losses. Now, there is a bit of controversy with regards to the numbers, since Herodotus' number is not universally accepted. The Athenian playwright, right? Dan, got to help me with his pronunciation. Aeschylus, thank you. He said that there was around 310 triremes, and Ceteius is also a Greek physician and historian from Carina, said it was about a similar number. Though another Greek historian, right, said it was about 220 ships. But even if you consider it, it is a fair bet that the Athenians are still 50% of the entire allied navy. Now, if we go over to the Persians, they, as you mentioned, are coming from the various western satrapies of the Persian Empire. So they are the Phoenicians, Scythians, the Egyptians, and the Ionian and Aeolian allies and Cyprus, who are contributing a lot. So the Phoenicians, now according to Herodotus' numbers, there are 1,207 triremes engaged in battle for this. Right. Which is not really a number even I would even accept. I think the 1,207 is just Herodotus trying to play a bit of homage to the Iliad, because that was the size of the Greek forces written by Homer. But according to Herodotus's numbers, we have 300 ships from Phoenicia, then another 100 from Sicilia. Egypt had 200, Ionia had 100, Cyprus had 150, and Phrygia on Hellespont had another 100 ships, and the rest came from several other contingents. All pretty large, because even Doria, Aeolia had 30 to 60 ships, so larger than any individual Greek component. The modern historians all tend to say that the Persians would have fielded no more than 600 ships at Salamis. And that makes sense to me, because we do know in the build up to the Salamis campaign, they lost over 400 to 450 ships to storms off the coast of Euboea, and heavy losses as well in the dual defense at Thermopylae and Artemisium. That a number between 600 to 800 ships is considered to be the range at which the the way the Persians engage. But it is a good bet that they were outnumbering the Greeks, even with the Athenians 2-1 at the very least.
Yeah, and one funny thing to note is that it's multiple Greek sources. It's 1,200 Persian ships. It's almost a magical number that comes up in almost every single Greek source, ranging from,
as I said,
Herodotus
Iliad.
to Aeschylus.
Iliad.
It actually has this pretty funny thing where he, as you say, he sort of says the Persians took all these ship losses in the naval fighting at Artemisium, and the storm. And he sort of says, yeah, once they get to Salamis, they replenish all the ships, so the Persian force ends up coming back to its original strength.
And I can believe that they would definitely replenish the sources, but not in 6 weeks. Even considering that they were getting some reinforcements from the conquered states,
Yeah,
it was said that they had made the Persians from the initial fleet, right? If you account for losses and also those that would be detached for other duties. The Persian ships were about 550 that came to the Battle of Salamis, with around 150 odd ships also joining them as reinforcements. So not more than 700, 800. Anything above is just, yeah, that's not going to happen.
yeah. I think Herodotus had 1200 as the number that basically just every Greek source gives, and he had to find a way to cook the books in order to have it make sense considering all of the events.
Should we should we call the IRS for embezzlement?
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe Xerxes is just money laundering and he spent all this money as like a sort of large expense. But yeah,
Corporate expense, right? Because
yeah. Oh
he's
yeah.
the Achaemenid Empire, right? That's his corporate expense.
Yeah, claim it
Yeah.
back from HMRC. But yeah, so cheers, Gaurav, for covering all of the sort of uh, forces and composition of both respective fleets. I'm a classicist. I just hate numbers in general. So
I remember you were quite offended on one Instagram post where I was complaining about my asset pricing having Greek variables, and you're like, I'm just not like, appreciative of the numbers.
yeah, just honestly, I had to look at sometimes for my dissertation, I had to sort of cover sort of Athenian property and sort of land registry or disputes or management or whatever. And honestly, having to talk about like 1500 Medimnoi, like 7 states or whatever, where was this boundary marker? How many citizens were in this particular demographic? Absolutely over my head. So returning to the day of battle, all of before people even get on the ships, the Greek captains and commanders each give a speech to their respective contingents, sort of encouraging and inspiring their men to fight their hardest in the battle ahead. And Herodotus judges that Themistocles gives the most respected of these speeches. The Greeks also send the trireme away to Aegina in order to retrieve the sons of Aeacus. These are sort of the remains of two very famous Greek heroes. One is the Argonaut Peleus, and the other is his son, Achilles, who I'm sure requires no introduction. But the idea
I was just
of why
watching the
this,
movie Troy today
yeah,
afternoon. Just coincidentally.
the reason why they're sending these ships in order to, it might seem a bit weird, uh, because this isn't something that people in the modern era normally do, sending ships in order to retrieve people's dead remains before a battle. Well, the reason they're doing this is because they believe that they will prevail and that you will have a victory if the heroes, these sons of Aeacus, this legendary seafarer, this Argonaut Peleus, and the greatest warrior of the Trojan War, Achilles, if they are believed to be fighting alongside the Greek host, then they believe that this will increase their chances of victory.
What did the sacred chicken say though?
Yeah. And
Sorry, could not resist that jab.
And speaking of sort of divine authority equaling greater chances of victory, there is, as there tends to be, an oracle associated with this battle. And the oracle is that when the sacred headland of golden sworded Artemis and Kynosura by the sea they bridge with ships, the Hellespont, after sacking shiny Athens in mad hope, divine justice will extinguish mighty greed, the son of insolence, lusting terribly, thinking to devour all. Bronze will come together with bronze, and Ares will redden the sea with blood. To Hellas, the day of freedom, far-seeing Zeus an august victory will bring. And this is the and this is the oracle associated with the Battle of Salamis. They perform
So
sacrifices.
offset of Delphi,
Yeah.
like call
And
it a shadow factory of the Oracle of Delphi.
yeah, how coincidental that it just happens to mention the Hellespont, Athens being sacked, and the fact that the Greeks are about to win this battle. And so the order of battle as the Greeks and Persians line up is that the Athenians and the Spartans are on the Greek left, fighting the Phoenicians on the Persian right, and the Aeginetans and the Megarians are occupying the Greek right, versus the Ionians occupying the Persian left. And this is thus the disposition of the Greek and Persian fleets. Now, the Persian fleets decide to advance into the strait because they believe that although the contents of the Greek letter Themistocles' letter prior didn't really come about with the planned evacuation, they could have just sort of rationalized that, thinking that the Greeks got wind that the Persians were blocking the straits and so decided to not risk it. But at this point, they have strong belief that eventually one of the Greek contingents is going to break and make a dash and save themselves. So the Persians advance their ships